Gus.
Hey, how's it going? Good. Hi, Gus. How are you?
I want to open up tonight's meeting, Town Council meeting here in Council Chamber, September 8th, 2014. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Crosco?
Present.
Councilor Clements?
Present.
Councilor Estrada?
Excused.
Councilor Manna?
Present.
Councilor Moriarty?
Present.
Councilor Peliquin?
Present.
Councilor Steves?
Present.
Councilor Vandal?
Present.
Councilor Vecchia?
Present.
8 here, 1 excused.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3 is to consider and accept Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, August 25th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or questions, comments? Seeing none, by hand is fine. All four. Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 4, subcommittee reports. A, General Government, Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's no minutes for this evening. However, we do have a meeting scheduled on Monday, the 15th of September at 7 p.m. I believe it'll be up here in George Parent, but just keep an eye open on the location. I'm not 100% on that. On topic right now, there's a couple of items. One is the airport fuel farm information issue, and the other is the what we discussed here. It's the change. The council rules and regulations change. Thank you, Councilor Manna. That's it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. B, DPW, Councilor Vandal.
No report and no meeting scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. C, Education and Human Services, Councilor Peliquin.
No report and no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. D, Planning and Development, Councilor Manna.
I have no report, and my meeting got canceled. That was on the 2nd. I would just like everyone to know, out there to know that we are still accepting letters for the Implementation Steering Committee for the master plan. So if you're interested, please get your letter to the town manager or Mrs. Ackley. Thank you.
Thank you. E, Protection of Persons and Property, Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, I have no minutes in our packet to read, but we did have a meeting on the 21st of August, and that was for the last 2 police appointments of Officer Marcucci and Officer Altieri. But after that, we have no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. F, Town Manager Search Committee, Councilor Carrasco.
We have a meeting scheduled this Thursday at 6 p.m. right here upstairs.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5 is Chairman's announcements. I have just 2, and they're really not even going to come from me, but more so we're going to ask a couple different groups to come up. First of which is probably the more pressing issue based on feedback from the community. If we could have Ms. Blakely from the DPW and any other supporters that are able to help.
Good evening, and thank you, Sean, for letting me come in and speak tonight. I'm Heather Blakely. I am the acting director of the DPW, which the water department does fall under me. I know that we recently have had some issues with discoloration in our water, so I'm here tonight to let you know what is going on and what happened so that you have a better understanding of what happened. On Wednesday afternoon, we had a mechanical failure at the plant that caused us to have to switch reservoirs rather quickly. We were running on what we call Reservoir 5, and we were producing very great quality water. We had to switch to Reservoir 3 because we had this failure, and the failure caused that we couldn't use 5 at the time. When we switched, that water quality is not the same water quality as we have in 5. The turbidities and the color naturally coming out of the reservoir were considerably higher than what we had been treating in 5. This caused the water also that was coming out of after our treatment to also be higher in color and turbidity. Still within acceptable limits, it was high on aesthetic issues. Color is an aesthetic issue, a secondary contaminant. So we knew about it. We tried to address the problem as quickly as we could, but we still had to provide water to the town. Just shutting the plant down isn't really an option. So on Friday, we were able to fix the problem, and by Friday evening, we were back running on reservoir number 5, which improved the water quality that we were producing greatly. But we were operating on the other reservoir for almost 2-day period. So this is why you saw this increased color throughout the distribution system. And this is also why the water is already getting better. But we have a mixture of the water now in this distribution system, and it will take a few more days for the system to be completely flushed out. You will see us around town. We are actively flushing the system, knowing where the color still exists and trying to pull the water from Res 5, the newer water, with the lower color levels into the system. So I ask you to please bear with us for a few more days, and we will be posting updates on the website as much as we can. We did post it on Friday. This morning, we also instituted the reverse 911 system so that we put calls out to many people, and I know some people have mentioned to me that they did receive them. So we're trying to get the information out there as quickly as possible. The water is safe to drink. I would use your discretion. If it's not something you're comfortable with because of the aesthetic looking, then don't drink it. But it isn't anything that I can say is going to harm you. DEP's been contacted. They're in complete agreement with us. We keep doing all of our tests. Our chlorine levels are fine. You know, we're working very hard to restore the water quality to what you're used to and back to the normal, very low color levels that we enjoy here in Southbridge. I can try to answer any questions. I do have technical data about how high the colors were and everything, but unless you're seeing it firsthand in front of you, it doesn't really mean nothing. It's just a number. So, but I would say normally we were running around 40 coming into the plant. When we switched, it was over 200. So.
Do we have any questions, comments from council? Council Clements?
Thank you. Thank you for your explanation. I did have actually, someone asked me this morning, and I said, oh, a week or so ago, they mentioned they're going to be flushing the hydrants, and I was out of town, so I didn't realize what had happened. But, so thank you for clearing that up. Do we know what the breakage, what the failure
we know
was
what
caused
happened.
by?
What happened was they were actually doing a very standard test that we do operating our generators to make sure the generators worked. And what they suspect is when it switched back over, there was a little bit of a power surge, which knocked out our SCADA system. When the SCADA got knocked out, one of the valves slammed shut. And that slamming of the valve caused what is called a water hammer, and that water hammer actually caused a mechanical failure. So actually I can say we are taking a couple steps and have already taken steps where the SCADA system has been reprogrammed so that valve won't just slam shut. They found some issues where the valves weren't actually wired correctly. They didn't have their interruptible power supply, and now they will actually be slow closing. And we are also receiving quotes to put a pressure release on that so that when we do get a water hammer situation, if we ever get another one, it won't cause a mechanical failure. It will have a location to release to, and then it won't fail.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I would just like you to reemphasize to the community that at no time was anybody ever in danger from drinking this water because, you know, some people, I saw on social media, oh, we should be boiling our water and stuff, and I understand that we weren't in any type of danger with our water, but if you could just reemphasize and reassure the community.
Yeah. The water is safe to drink and bathe in and use. It's an aesthetic issue with the water quality right now. If at any time, I want everybody to know, if any time we find out that we have any issue with the water quality, that it is not safe, there will be so much press and publicity. We would be doing immediate 911s telling you to boil water and everything else. So I hope everybody understands we have very, very detailed procedures when we know that it's a health concern. This was never considered a health concern.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Just one question or comment, I suppose, whether it's through, to you rather, or to the manager, but in terms of getting the word out, granted in this case it would have been just a reassurance that the water was fine. However, I had been asked, I don't think I received any calls Friday, but Saturday and certainly into Sunday, I received more calls and text messages and emails and such on this than I have anything since I've been up here. It was, I don't want to use the word panic lightly, but there was almost like a panic. And quite frankly, I had no real information to go by initially. It wasn't until Sunday evening that I stumbled upon the press release on the town website, and I suppose I could have looked there sooner. However, just based on our past practice with the town website and how quickly that gets updated, it wasn't a thought process. But if we have, even if it was something that was emailed out to council as kind of one of those first line of defenses where the phone calls and emails come into, but if there could have been just a little more of community outreach or notification, it would have been, I think, greatly appreciated by the general public. I know that the reverse 911 came out today, although really the bulk of, I think, the anxiety was really over the weekend at the Apex.
I would encourage the council members to always take advantage of my personal cell phone number and call 24/7, and I mean that quite literally. So the fact that it was a weekend should not be the slightest impediment. I guarantee you, if you're not calling, someone else is, because I take calls constantly, so it's fine. And were I aware of this, I would have dialogued immediately with Heather. I have all the department heads' private cell phone numbers, and we would have been happy to get something out much more quickly. In fact, frankly, probably the reverse E911 is what we would have used, because that's the most effective mass communication tool we've got. So my apologies that we weren't able to react quicker, but by all means, if, let me know. I don't care when, we'll take care of it, no problem.
And I will say, we thought of, on Friday when we started having issues, we put it out on the website, and we were like, okay, well, this is how I can post it on the website. I knew where I could post it in the one place. Actually, it was brought up to my attention that I could have put a link onto the first page, but I didn't know it at the time. Since we're still learning with the new website, and I know a lot of people still haven't used it, and it's still a learning process. I think one of the other things that we realized, we had never used the E911 system either, and how well it was going to do. So I think for both of these instances, looking back, we would have gone right to the reverse 911 system earlier on Friday to try to get the word out quicker. And maybe more emails, like you said, instead of just the press release, which we fax instead of email, so it's kind of one of those issues.
I think at the department head meeting this Thursday, we have a meeting every week following the council meeting. We'll have some dialogue at the department head meeting about what the E911, reverse 911 capabilities are with the chief, so the department heads all know they've got access to that and what it can do. And it's not something you want to do routine announcements with, but it is something that I'm not sure everybody understands how effective it is, and we'll have some conversations about that, so it'll be available for things like this in the future.
And if we could, too, just as a quick thought, I know that the fire department was here not that long ago talking about this program, but if we could have the chief or somebody else come back just to kind of remind people and how they can sign up in lieu of this, so that people know this is how they can get this information, I think that would be beneficial.
Sure.
Councilor Vecchia?
Yeah, I'd just like to state that I called the water company about 2 p.m. Friday, and Christine Doyle answered the phone, and she gave me all the pertinent information. And I got several calls over the weekend, and I was able to tell them what was going on. So I was very happy about that. So will you thank Christine Doyle for me?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Do you want to introduce us with you?
Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't say, I do have representative from the water department. Steve Donovan is here he is with Whitewater, who is our system operators. I also should say, just so you guys have a sense of what they did go through just to get this water back up on. Because we had the issue with the valves and the possibility of them slamming shut because the SCADA was still not reprogrammed, they actually they fixed the line on 5 on Friday and stayed and manned the plant 24 hours a day, which is not our normal procedure, so that we could get back on 5 quicker. They also flushed 10 feet of the water tank up there so that we'd get fresher water in there sooner. So they really have put forth an extreme effort just to get the water back flowing in the ranges that we're happy with the lower colors and turbidities. So they really stepped up and said, you know what, we have to man the plant 24 hours a day. we have to be here because we know that we need to use this other reservoir and not Reservoir 3. So I do commend them for their efforts over the weekend.
Excellent, thank you. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
A second group that we'd like to have come up, because these are the guys that have put this together and you should get the positive press time. So if we could have the representatives from the Cops and Kids program to explain what's coming up this upcoming weekend, that would be greatly appreciated.
First of all, thank you for allowing the time for us to basically come and invite the community to what I believe is a wonderful event. Thank you, the town manager and the town council, for allowing us this time. This Saturday, September 13th, we do a Southbridge runway car show. I don't know if you can hear me, let me lean into it. Car registration starts at 10 a.m. to 12. The gates open to the general public at 11. Admission is $5. Under 10 are free. We have over 40 crafts vendors there. We have 15 food vendors, so you get anything from fried dough to nachos to roasted chicken to pulled pork, hot dogs, and burgers. Last year we had over 170 registered show cars. This year we plan to double that. We have a touch a truck area that's going to be on display with fire trucks, police vehicles, and also drag cars, the real deal. We're going to have a kid zone with numerous moon bounces and that style rides. We have fire service providing what's called the safe house, teach kids how to escape fires of that nature. We have 2 stunt bike shows, which was pretty neat last year. These guys are on normal street bikes doing some serious tricks. It was pretty amazing. That's at 1 and then 3. We have live entertainment all day, numerous bands playing. Car burnouts begin at 3:30. For some reason, people love that, and that's going to go all the way till 7. We have the famous dunk tank, which 4 of your counselors have committed, so feel free to come down and dunk them. They start at 11:30. I think it's Counselor Carrasco, followed by Counselor Peliquin, and then Counselor Moriarty, as well as Gus. I don't know if you confirmed, but he's the 3 o'clock spot. There's a little space there. So come down and dunk them, and in between there'll be some of your favorite police officers. We also have something cool. We have an air rifle range coming down, and we're going to take an hour where you could come and try to outshoot a police officer. So you could pay and try to outshoot a police officer in an air rifle range. We have a game section. We also have a remote control airplane show, which is pretty neat. Some of these planes are almost the size of real planes. Also, we have, I believe this is a great community event. It showcases our beautiful airport. It's a great time for families to enjoy themselves. So this is a great opportunity for families to come out and support a great cause. Proceeds will benefit the Cops and Kids program, yearly scholarships, our Thanksgiving Day program, what we did last year. We focused on cancer patients. We brought cancer patients out to the public house on Thanksgiving Day, had meals with them. We also gave out turkeys to over 40 families. So that supports that as well as our Santa Cop program during Christmas. I will say we have a very proactive police association that is eager to bring events to our community. I can say I'm proud to be part of the Southbridge Police Association, as well as director of the Cops and Kids program. And just to touch base a little on the Cops and Kids program this year, we were fortunate enough to get national attention this year from Washington, and that phone call from the Department of Agriculture was pretty interesting. When they started talking to me and said, oh, you know, we were around with the co-workers and talking about programs that we're going to showcase throughout the United States, and we picked 5. And one of my co-workers who came to your program last year was like, you got to go see what these cops are doing in this small town in Massachusetts. So I don't measure my success on what's a conversation in the lunchroom, but we did get national recognition. They did promote our program nationally. They came down to do a video, but I do say that I could tell you a story that we hire kids within the program to be counselors, and one of our success stories was that one of our kids that grew up in the program became a youth counselor during high school, went off and fought for our country, came back and wanted to work in the program as a senior counselor and did so, and then a couple months later was hired as a Southbridge police officer. So I'm very proud that we finally did the full circle with the program. Thank you. As well as when you show up at 7 o'clock in the morning in the summer, I know when I was a kid, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was probably home sleeping, and I didn't get up to 12. And there's a line at the Armory to get into the youth center for the program. I think that speaks for itself at 7 o'clock in the morning when you have a line of kids trying to get in the youth center. So that by itself speaks for itself, and I think that measures the program greatly, and I think we don't need Washington to tell us we have a great program here, and I think we need to continue supporting, which the community is. So if you want to support the program in any way, come out Saturday, September 13th. Gates open at 11. If you have a car you would like to register, show up at 10 o'clock. I don't know if you have any questions, but we are also selling these T-shirts right here. These are my display guys. You feel free to buy some while you're up there. Yes?
Hi, how you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Very good. The only question I have is, I noticed these two young gentlemen behind you, and I know they're doing a lot of work. Can you please introduce them to the public, please?
All right, this is part of the fundraising efforts. The Southbridge Police Association runs this program up at the airport. This is our union president, Detective Bailey, and also Detective Iozzo, his partner in crime. Fight against crime. The fighting against crime. See that? So I hope to see most of the community up there supporting the program, and Duncan, your favorite counselor.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? All right, thank you very much. And then just lastly, just as an informational note, our cable access director, Mike Montigny, pointed out to me before the meeting that tonight is should be the last meeting, knock on wood, with the current sound system. It won't change anything for those watching at home, but for those who are here in the McKinnon Council chambers, by the time we have our next council meeting in a couple weeks, it should be much clearer, much louder, much more audible for everybody, including council and those in attendance. Moving on to agenda item number 6, town manager's announcements.
5 things, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. First, at last council meeting, a gentleman had come in, Gabriel, and asked about the sidewalk at Belanger and Bullard Funeral Home on Marcy Street. I had taken a look at that with the DPW director within a couple of days, and I didn't know there were 2 funeral homes on Marcy Street. So the first one we looked at, on the left as you come down from Maine, has brand new sidewalk. So I promptly called Gabe up and said, Gabe, bad news, we're not going to fix that, it's brand new. Gabe drew to my attention that there were 2 funeral homes. So I got back out there this afternoon, and sure enough, there's about 3 sections that are broken up pretty badly. So I talked to the DPW director, and she is going to include those 3 sections in this year's repair program. Now, one thing I learned that I did not know that I think the council should be aware of, we only budget about $5,000 for sidewalk repair, which is about enough to do 30 to 50 linear feet in the entire town. We have miles of sidewalk, literally miles, and we can only repair 30 to 50 linear feet. If you look at the panels on the sidewalk, those chunks of concrete with lines, think in terms of about 10, 11, or 12 of those is all we can do. Now, there's a lot of sidewalks that are probably worse, frankly, than here. But since this is very heavily traveled due to traffic attending funerals and wakes at the funeral home, it does need to be done, so we will get it done this year. I don't have an exact date for you, because generally what the director does is she'll hire a private contractor who will come in, chisel that up, and then form and pour out fresh sections of sidewalk. But it'll get done sometime before winter. But the real point of reporting this to you is to make sure that the council's aware that when we do the budget this year, we probably need to put a little bit more serious amount of money in there for sidewalk repair, and that'll be a priority for us. Second thing, you had asked at a past meeting about updating the general bylaws on the website. I asked the staff at the last department head meeting, and Town Clerk Matty Doust indicated that's her responsibility, and she'll be taking care of that, so you should see that up and on there soon. I guess there was some updating the council made not too long ago, and that hadn't gotten on the website yet, but it will in the near future. I was also asked by a council member if we have the ability to do the payroll electronically, and come to find out we do. You may have seen some paper that's associated with employees that are on a punch clock, a time clock, but the payroll, in fact, is submitted by every department electronically, and we're pretty state-of-the-art on that sort of thing, so I wanted to let you know about that. Fourth item, a couple of you saw an email that came out from Senator Moore's office regarding a program called the Certified Public Expenditure Program of Mass Health, regarding reimbursements for cities and towns for ambulance service. This is a program that allows cities and towns, provided you have very meticulous record keeping, to get reimbursed for Medicare runs for patients that don't have the means to pay. Now, this would be the difference between what the bill is and what the Medicare payment is. And so obviously a lot of these folks are not able to pay. So this is a program that allows cities and towns to recapture the taxpayers' out-of-pocket cost. Discussed it with the chief and the deputy chief. They were already aware of this program. They're keeping those meticulous records as they did from the get-go. And the good news is we will get the maximum possible reimbursement, and it could be in the range of $5,000 to $15,000 annually. So it's some pretty serious money, and kudos to the chief and the deputy chief. They're really doing a good job of tracking that and right on top of it, and thanks to Senator Moore for emphasizing that for us. Last thing, on Wednesday through Friday of this week, the road, Central Street, that part of Central Street in the area of the registry will be closed because we'll be removing the railroad track under the road there. This is something that's been a council priority, I'm told, for quite a while now. It took the director quite a bit of time to get the state to agree to allow us to do this, because Commonwealth Highway District has to agree to this. It took quite a bit of time. Heather was very diligent in following up on that, and at long last they have agreed, and so they'll be out there removing it. You might notice if you go by it, they've already started scoring it and chipping up the pavement to get at the track underneath. So they'll be removing that. So just a notice to folks to try to stay away from that area for the next few days starting Wednesday, because it will be a traffic tie-up. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7, swearing in and presentation. We have boards and committees, in particular the Southbridge Bicentennial Committee. And I know we have several of the members here. I'm not sure if Steve Brady, as the co-chair, will be the only speaker or not, but we also have, just while he's making his way up, we have Jim O'Brien and Mike Janes and Francine Farland, Maureen Doyle, and I apologize if I don't see somebody behind you, but, oh, and Evelyn Petrelli's right up here. Thank you.
Hello, Chair. Hello, council members. My name's Steve Brady. I'm from 27 Country Club Place right here in Southbridge, and I'm a co-chair of the Bicentennial Committee here in town. And we've been asked to do a little update on the events that are going on in the Bicentennial Committee. So we put together a little PowerPoint presentation, and we'll go from there. The members of the Bicentennial Committee, the chairs of the the different subcommittees within the Bicentennial Committee are Steve Brady, I'm a co-chair and chair of fundraising. Sean Moriarty is a co-chair of the committee and chairman of the book subcommittee. Phil Pettinelli is the honorary chairman of the whole group. Jim O'Brien is a special events chairman, which is a very big role, the parade and everything. It's very exciting that's coming up. Francine Farland is secretary of all the subcommittees and also in charge of the quilt subcommittee. Dick Harwood is the finance subcommittee chair. Michael Janes is our social media subcommittee chair. Rob Caprera is the mobilization and outreach subcommittee chair. And Gus Steves is legacy. So it shows we have quite a group of people working on many different events, many different aspects of the bicentennial. So that's just and we have about, I would say, 6 more members who are also members of these different subcommittees, and they come to the meeting. So all told, we have about 20 people who are involved in some aspect of this group. Past events we've been involved in are the logo contest, which was held in 2014 in February, earlier this year. So that's the logo that's on the PowerPoint presentation. We had a contest, and we had many entries, and this was the winner. And it was judged by the Arts Center right here in town by artists. Other involvements, we've been involved in the Southbridge Fest. We've held a booth there. Free Fly Day, we've had a booth there. The Greek Picnic, the Romanian Picnic, Charlton Old Home Day, and the Southbridge Town-wide Yard Sale, which was just this past Saturday. So we're trying to get a presence out there, and we do that by attending these events. The events coming up for the Bicentennial Committee are the Cops and Kids Runway Show, which is coming up this Saturday. We will be having a lamppost banner contest. For some of you who might not know what that is, on the street lamps in the downtown, there are mounts for banners. These are vertical banners that were on the post years ago, but we're going to reuse those mounts to publicize Bicentennial, and we'll have a contest for that to pick the winning banner. We also are planning a flag contest, a poster contest, and then we're going to have a kickoff in February of 2015, a dance that will be scheduled around, I think it's the week after Valentine's Day. We will also be having a gala ball in February of 2016. That's actually the kickoff of the bicentennial year itself. We will also be having a time capsule, and we will celebrate the actual 200th birthday on February 15th, 2016. That's the 15th. Parade will be May 14th of 2016, and we will have fireworks on August 13th, 2016, which will be sponsored by the Rotary Club in town. We have commemorative items, which we have already on hand or are planning to have. We have T-shirts, polo shirts, which I'm wearing one, and some of the committee members are also wearing their shirts. 3-year series of Christmas ornaments, which are hand-blown glass ornaments with images of different parts of the town. They're very beautiful. We are also putting together a deck of historic playing cards. This is an ordinary poker deck, but if anyone would like to sponsor a card, there's a certain cost contribution to do that, and you could have an image on that card, a historic image for, say, the 2 of clubs or the 3 of spades or whatever you'd like. So we're working on that right now. And if anyone's interested, they can just contact the Bicentennial Committee, and we'll have some contact information a little bit later on in the presentation. We are also working on a bicentennial coin. We're looking for an appropriate image to have on the face of that coin right now. The back will be the logo. Bookmarks will be available very soon. We've started handing them out at the townwide yard sale. They'll also be available at the library and in the schools. So those are some of the commemorative items. We'll probably have more. Projects that are in the works, or actually underway. We have the Bicentennial book, which will be out, of course, in 2016, and a series of television shows that we're starting to work on this fall, which will present certain aspects of the town's history and what the town is all about now. It's going to be a very fun series. We also have a lot of parade planning, the gala planning, and the quilt. So those are some of the projects that are coming up or in the works, and we have some legacy projects that are being handled by the legacy team. Now, of course, with anything this size, there's considerable costs that have to be underwritten, and so we have had some solicitations, and we've received some very large donations by a group of local businesses in town. We have Southbridge Savings Bank, the Savers Bank, Old Sturbridge Village, St. John Paul II Parish, McGrath Insurance Group, OFS Vitel from Sturbridge, Christopher House of Webster, and Oak Coin Realty right here in Southbridge. They're the first donors from our solicitation, and we thank them greatly because that money will come in good use over the next couple of years. The Southbridge Bicentennial, of course, has a website which is maintained by our social media chair, Michael Janes. It's www.southbridge200.org. All the information about the Bicentennial and our group is available on that website. So if anyone's interested, please just visit the website or Google Southbridge 200. It'll come right up as the first entry. We also have a Facebook page. If you just, once again, Google Southbridge 200 or go to Facebook and do Southbridge 200, you'll land right on that. We have a Twitter account, which is Twitter@Southbridge 200. So that's all the contact if you need to contact the group. All the information for contacts are on that website. Okay, so I'll give the main committee meeting dates, which is always the third Wednesday of the month, and that's every month. So our next meeting is 9/17 at 7 p.m. It's usually right downstairs, right here in the town hall. So get involved and have some fun. We need all the help we can get to make this bicentennial the best celebration this town has ever had. Are there any questions or any additional comments?
I'll just offer one comment. I think many of us are involved in numerous committees and groups over the years or currently, and one thing I can say that with great reverence for this current group of the Bicentennial Committee is far too often when you get involved in groups, you start to see different factions and politics and games that get played, and knock on wood, but this has remarkably been so not that, and it's oftentimes you leave this building after subcommittee meetings or such, and you might scratch your head or be a little frustrated, but those are meetings, especially the special events through Jim O'Brien's committee, that you leave with a big grin on your face and just very excited. So I want to thank everybody that's involved in the committee for being so genuine, being so forthright, and so hardworking. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, actually I have one. Kind of dovetail. One of the things that I think we really need to see as Sean and myself and Steve and the other members that are on this committee would really like to see some of the community groups get together, and one thing we would like to incorporate into our calendar is stuff that you guys want to do. Whatever you can throw on that you can come up with and add to the list of stuff, because this is our town. All 200 years of it, and everybody who's here today. There's 17,000 people in this town, and so planning something like this is going to take more than the 20 or so people that are currently doing it. We've already got the Rotary doing something on it. There's a couple of other groups that have kind of stepped forward, but we need as much as we can. We would love to stack the entire year full of all kinds of stuff to really celebrate Southbridge. So I think we can make this happen.
And just to add one little bit more to what Gus has said, the parade, for instance, is a timeline of the history of the town. We intend to include every aspect of the town from before its founding in 1816 to today. So that will involve the involvement of every community group in this community to make it a real success. And that's why we're dependent on that. It's very important to have everyone involved. And that's how you make something not only successful, but also a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Moving on to agenda item number 8, which will be Citizens Forum. If there are any citizens who would like to speak to anything that is not on tonight's agenda, now would be the time. Just please step forward and cite your name and your address, and you'll have 5 minutes to discuss that topic.
My name is Richard Snyder. If I'm talking louder than most people, it's because I can't hear most people. I'm hard of hearing. Well, anyway, tonight I have a very important matter to put forward, and that is the speed traps. The cops sit in their cruisers and wait for somebody to come by 1 or 2 miles over the limit and wait for that car to get a half a mile down the road. Then they take chase at high speed. That is dangerous. They should drive, patrol. If the people see them driving, they're not going to speed, and they're certainly not going to pass a cop. I know I wouldn't. What they're doing is dangerous. That has to stop. I went down to the Big Y today. Right after I went around the Rotary, there's a cop sitting in that parking lot on my right, just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for somebody to come by, and then probably wait until that person is a half a mile down the road before they take chase. These are things, I have seen this. I'm not making it up. What they do is dangerous. If they want to slow the traffic down, let them drive. Become a pace car, if you will. That will slow the traffic down. They go after these people to issue a ticket so they can get a bonus and line their own pockets. And I know this does happen. A girl I used to go with, her brother-in-law was a cop in Providence, Rhode Island, and he told me how it works. And I just described that to you tonight. It goes on there, it goes on here. And I have no doubt that it goes on all over the country. I say, let Southbridge be an example, and by putting a stop to that. It's dangerous the way they do it. They should patrol, become a pace car or something. That will slow the traffic down. Where I live on Worcester Street, I can hear the traffic going by, and they are moving faster than they should, but where are the cops? They're nowhere to be found. Let them be there, patrolling, driving their cruisers.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Because the way they're doing it, by hiding and then taking off at breakneck speeds, is dangerous.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
I do hope that my words will be heeded.
I'm sure
They
the town
haven't
manager
been
will
in the past on other safety measures. This is a different safety measure, and I do hope that something will be done about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Town Manager?
Now, if you're talking to me, you're gonna have to talk louder, because I couldn't hear anything anybody in here said so far. I'm sure you must have heard me, because I talk loud enough. So if you're gonna talk, please, talk loud, so I can hear you.
Okay.
Now, one more question. Should I stay here while you do talk or not?
No, you can take a seat, and the town manager, you can sit down if you'd like, and the town manager will address your question or comments.
See, there's so much echo in here, I couldn't understand what you just said. He will come to that.
No, the town manager answers your question from up here.
I hope he talks loud.
I just want to reassure the gentleman that it is not the practice by matter of policy. In fact, the town has a policy specifically forbidding high-speed pursuit. Now, it is occasionally the case that someone who breaks speeding laws, stop signs, whatever, because of traffic getting between the cruiser and the person, the cruiser has to go a little bit faster than the prevailing traffic in order to catch that person, but there is no practice of engaging in high-speed pursuit. I also want to reassure you that there is no bonus whatsoever to a police officer who issues a citation of any sort. I don't know what happens in Providence, Rhode Island. I can only tell you what happens in Southbridge, Massachusetts. Police officers do not receive anything except their regular hourly pay. And so I hope that addresses at least a couple of the concerns that you've expressed.
I think I have to sit in your lap if I can.
That would probably be problematic for both of us. Do you want me to take a minute and step down?
Sure, by all means. At this time, are there any other residents who would like to come up and speak as part of Citizens Forum?
Once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and gentlemen. I am very displeased what's going on in this town. There has been nothing upgraded as far as the law enforcement code. I'm being threatened daily with people now. I didn't even go to the dumpster. I have to take my trash down the family's house, but I'm not gonna run. If the landlord wants to visit me, that's fine. Right? But I'm not gonna be treated like I'm not an animal. I am a human being like the rest of you. I live on the freezing machine at night. And I'm telling you right now, I don't have relatives on the board. I don't have relatives on the police department. I think I'm a very, very low-class family. We had to learn from jail. I was 15 years old when I was first put away. Alright? I didn't know my morals until I was 40 years old. When I couldn't see none of my children, and I buried two of my children. What I'm saying to you is, please wake up. And the other thing I'd like to mention, if you allow something wrong in this town, whether or not if you look around, you'll see me out there helping these communities cleaning up, cutting trees down, over by the AO, over down by 159, I'm there. But I am a somebody else is gonna stand up. I'm not here because people want me to be here. A lot of people, even when I saying, what is he doing? He's making too much noise. I've been watching, but I can't say who I've been talking to. I'm on my way to Washington, but I'm gonna talk that I have people out there. Way up Southbridge, way up Oria. Before we bury more children. When you said Mr. Moriarty about exactly 4 weeks ago to this day, you said, yeah, you're the problem, but we can do it when we bury more people. It's you that bad when I go to rental wages. It's not my money, but I was on disability. It's your money. If you don't control it, then I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. About 10,000 others, and then people, when the law enforcement officers, not that he dropped their doors, or people trying to, oh my children, you should have thought it out before I came to the door. You should have thought before the law came or the other came. If you allow violence in your home, your food, then you deserve what you get. But I was on Southbridge. I used to say the law was about my children. Then the last time I went to jail, I learned when somebody takes from you, get up and take from them, no matter what the odds or penalties are. But nobody cared. I had a one thought with the chief, and I felt so negative when I left. When he told me the merchants of this town are a private business, and just don't tell you they are somebody's property more than a year. A judge does not have a citizen go after another citizen. Every time something happens down around my area, the tenants run over to the mini-mart, and it causes more havoc and more problems for myself. I'm not crying to you guys, but I know the reward and a few people want it out. Before we have more dead bodies in this town, the fire department, the EMTs, and all hospitals have to see this, and the police will say, but find out what happened first, and they never really find out the truth.
Mr. Bissett, we have a 5-minute period. Would you like to get 2 more minutes, or?
Yes.
All right, so do we have a motion to extend for 2 minutes?
So moved.
We have a second. All in favor? Okay, go ahead.
When I'm asking everybody of this town as a community, it might not let any more big businesses come into this town. We created a lot of businesses, gas stations. We don't need $1 billion companies. We need what we done today. Let's rebuild and reconstruct. Hey, you wanna have fun? Build a man cave out, you know, or an IHOP or another friendly for there. Over 35 years, and I don't think the police really been there more than 10 times in 35 years. For any complaints or riots, I did my homework. When I'm asking only you is regarding the way to stop the violence, is let's work together as a community. Let's get these businesses, give them more funding and more help, and they already we got enough people out there that won't work for a dime or a cup of coffee. I know I would. But you know why? You laugh, you smile. But I picked up your bag of trash or I picked up your weed. That's a good feeling to me. God bless you all, and thank you very much. Any comments?
Any questions, comments? I don't think there are any tonight, Mr. Bissett. Thank you, though. Are there any other residents or citizens who have any issues or concerns they would like to address tonight that are not on tonight's council agenda? Seeing none, we move on to agenda item number 9, which is vote to appropriate $150,000 from the landfill royalty receipts reserved account number 6790 to the fiscal year 2015 school capital projects account as follows. Network and telecommunications hardware, $28,000. Capital technology, copy machines, leases throughout the district at $71,000. Acquisition of motor vehicles, $51,000. Total capital expenditures, $150,000.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments? Councilor Vecchia?
I have some questions for Karen Canois.
Sure. Ms. Harnoy?
Thank you. Hi, Ms. Canois. My question is, this $150,000 to be appropriated, this isn't in the FY 2015 school budget?
That's correct.
So you want to add this to the school budget?
Well, we're not going to add it to the school budget. We're going to create a fiscal 15 capital account, which is separate from the school budget, which
Okay.
will give the school some capital monies.
Okay. But could they have put this in their budget to begin with the budget we approved?
Yes,
That they
and
wanted capital money?
If I could. Yes, they actually did. But when the budget was recommended and voted, it was recommended at a 2% overall increase for the school, recommended to vote, with some additional items to be allocated to the school in fiscal 15 for that budget, to bring them to an ultimate just over 3% increase from last year.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to ask is, the budget that we approved did not include any capital, and they could have put it in the budget if they wanted to. And they could have put it in the budget and took it away from something else.
Let me help you. My understanding, Apple, is that there was a decision made by the council prior to your election as part of this year's capital and operating budget that $150,000 would be allocated, earmarked, if you will, for the school capital budget, but that the exact items for that money to be spent upon would be determined later by the new council once it was elected and seated. And that's the process you're seeing tonight. So this money is not in the school operating budget. This is for capital outside of it.
I understand that, but they could have put it in the budget to begin with.
If the council had so approved, yes.
That's my question. Okay. Now also, I still have the floor, right?
Yep.
Acquisition of motor vehicles. There's 2 motor vehicles here, and it states estimated cost to purchase 2 sped vans to help lower future costs of transportation. Can you explain that to me, please?
Sure, I'll have Aaron Osborne from the school explain.
Okay.
Hi there.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron Osborne. I'm the interim director of finance for the school department. So as part of the special education process, we have many students who attend other very specialized schools based on their needs and their requirements, based on their IEP. As such, we are required to transport them to those locations. And currently, we work with AA Transportation, who provides that transportation in most cases. We have really decided, after looking at it, that we could probably and very likely reduce a lot of our transportation costs by having our own buses. It gives us a little more flexibility. It lets us deal with some of the longer routes. It also lets us possibly do multiple stops and maybe even work with other school districts to ride share. So there are a couple different ways we can go about that. So for example, we have buses that go all the way to Long Meadow daily. Every single day they pick up kids and they go all the way to Long Meadow. There's an opportunity for us to ride share, and those single trips can cost $50,000 a year or more. And so if we can sort of recoup some of that and create a little more flexibility in our system, do some ride sharing, things like that, we believe there's some cost savings.
My only question is, why wasn't this put in the school budget to begin with?
In fact, school budgeting is based on towns picking up capital costs. The school's budget is an operating budget. The capital costs typically are picked up, and there's usually a capital either amount or a type that the town agrees to pick up as part of that process. In this case, the town has agreed, is my understanding, to pick up the cost of the vans, these 3 servers to serve the 3 elementary schools, Charlton Street, West Street, and Eastford Road, as well as some copier costs.
My next question is, to Mrs. Hanoi, I know she's in back here, but I saw her on the floor. She states she was asked by Robert Reed. Who is Robert Reed?
The previous acting town manager.
Oh, okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have Councilor Steves, then Councilor Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I think this is probably best to be answered by Aaron. As you know, I was at the school committee of the whole when you guys were talking about this proposal, like in late August.
Yes.
One thing I was wondering, first of all, is is there a future plan for capital issues that the schools are looking at for the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at capital costs every year, and, you know, in each year, there should be a certain amount of capital that, as part of the overall budget process, that we start to agree to, and we start to, you know, as part of the planning process. You know, we will propose a budget, and a certain amount the town will say, you know, we'll pick up that as a capital cost, or put in the operating budget.
What I'm trying to wonder is, are you looking at something similar to this level of 150 grand or something for this coming fiscal year?
I can't tell you what that's going to be right now. I know we're working on a technology plan. I don't think the middle high school is relatively new. The servers that we're replacing in this case, for example, are 8 years old. We're starting to have some peripheral system failures with those servers, with some downtime that we'd really rather not have. So, you know, we're duct taping them together and doing what we can, but I think, you know, they've really lived their useful life, and it's time to send them to retirement.
And lastly, at that meeting, you guys suggested that you were going to look into leasing the vans. What happened with that, and why did you decide to buy?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Most leases carry with them mileage numbers and things like that, so that gets fairly cost ineffective. These are also very specialized vehicles. It's very hard to just off the cuff lease a very specialized vehicle with wheelchair apparatus, lights and things like that are very specialized seating, things like that. Yep.
Councilor Clements?
Again, just a little more light. The conversation happened in the spring when we were going through the budgets. I know Councilor Steves was at some of those meetings too, I believe, the school budget meetings.
I think I was at a couple of them.
Yeah, and so some of this, we'd come up with that balanced budget with the 2% or so, and of course the school, as usual, you know, with much need, of course, requested much more than that. And in order to keep within the budget parameters, they came up with this creative plan to take out some of the items that were in the budget that had the 4 or 5% increase that they were looking for, take them out so they could back down their budget to be a more within the percentage that we were looking to increase, and then predicate them on some of this, some of the funds coming in, some of the, as I mentioned here, the local aid estimates. There was an E-rate credit situation that I called Mrs. Harnoyan and asked if how that came along, some of the funding for this.
Sure.
So this was a way to not be tied into doing this $150,000 if for some reason we just couldn't really afford that, to keep the taxes down, to keep things down, yet to be mindful of what the school needed. And we came up with this creative idea to back out specifics and allow them to use their budget for what they wanted it to be, and yet still be able to hopefully fund, which is where it's coming to now, the $150,000. I think it's really important you mentioned, I'm glad you explained all the van situation. I don't think people realize sometimes that one of the van runs, we were told, runs up to $70,000, $80,000 a year between a driver and a van for one student, one special needs student. So again, if we can piggyback or partner up with other communities and make multiple runs, we could actually, I hate to say, make money in a sense that would fund the program even more and help more students. So the transportation and those vans could potentially be used for other elements of the school, other areas perhaps where there may be some transportation issues that could be utilized when they're not needed for the special needs transportation. So, well-needed funds, a creative way to get the budget, to make people happy. I know the school committee was or the finance people in the school, you weren't there at the time, were receptive to this creative approach to getting an increase, not what they wanted, but meeting them and being mindful of what they wanted. So I think it's a good thing, and hopefully we'll pass that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vecchia?
I have another question for Ms. Hanrich, please. So, in summation, the town council had approved a 2% increase budget for FY 2014, it says here, for the schools. What we're in FY 2015. Okay? This letter says FY 2014, but we're in FY 2015.
It is a 2% increase over fiscal 14.
Okay, from
For 15.
FY, okay, so this is 2015.
Yes.
It's a 2% increase. Townwide, I wasn't on the council last year. How much was the townwide budget increased? Was it increased over 2%?
Yes, it was closer to the 3%. I don't know exactly what the percentage is. So with these additions in, it'll bring the school closer to what the town overall increase was.
I don't know if you can, maybe he can answer the question. How many kids do we have in the system this year versus last year?
I honestly, I don't know the exact numbers on that. The school district serves about 2,200 students, give or take a little bit. It's fairly stable last year to this year. I don't have those numbers right in front of me. I could find them. We could get those to you.
I'm all set.
Councilor Steves?
Aaron, actually, to follow up on that question, how many kids do we serve that are special ed kids?
Oh.
That would be affected by this kind of a transportation thing as opposed to with
I don't know the specific numbers. We're in the neighborhood of somewhere over 20 for special education. We're certainly above, say, the statewide average, but not wildly above it. So that, represents 450 students who are in varying degrees. You have some students who have very mild IEPs with just some modifications to their learning, and other students who are bused to Long Meadow.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Clemens?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Vandal?
Yes.
Councilor Vecchia?
Yes.
Councilor Kraska?
Yes.
8 yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 10, vote to amend the Code of Bylaw Section 7 to correct the numbering section of the graffiti bylaw, changing it from Section 7503, approved at April 7, 2014 Town Council meeting, to Section 7-508. This does not affect the content of the bylaw in any way.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Mr. Cowett?
Speak on article number 9 on the agenda regards to $150,000.
That agenda item's already passed.
I know, but I wanted to speak, you passed it before I had a chance to come up to speak on it. Thing is, I know it's passed, but thing is, I want to express my views on this. Now, $50,000 taken from the royalty fund.
Mr. Cowett, this would not be the appropriate time at this point, unfortunately. If you'd like, you can either address afterwards or perhaps at the next meeting at Citizens Forum at the next meeting, but unfortunately, at this point, the meeting, that agenda item has come and gone, and we're just not able to do so, unfortunately. Sorry. Any other questions or comments as far as agenda item number 10? Just as a clarification, this agenda item is essentially a clarification, a correction. Again, as noted at the end of that, it does not in any way actually change the bylaw itself, just kind of where it falls within the document. Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor Krasko?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
8 yes.
Motion passes. Agenda item number 11, vote to add an amendment to Town Council minutes of April 7, 2014. Agenda item number 10, to reflect that a change was made to Section 7-503 graffiti bylaw to Section 7-508 as explained in Town Clerk memo dated September 4th, 2014.
I'd like to abstain.
Second.
Okay. And just any questions or comments? Again, this is more or less for record keeping so that in researching they can confirm why this happened and why there's a change. No other questions or comments? So roll call, please.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Abstain.
Abstain, okay. Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Vecchia?
Yes.
Counselor Krasko?
Yes.
Counselor Clements?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you.
Actually,
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. Should those of us who were not elected actually abstain from that?
I'm sorry?
Should those of us who were not elected at that time actually abstain from that?
Right, yeah. At this time, you're able to vote.
Okay.
You should be fine. Agenda item number 12, vote to approve the zoning bylaw amendment for the keeping of livestock on less than 5 acres as recommended by the planning board. This would be the second reading.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? Don't have to read it the second time.
You have to read it every time.
That's what we do.
And generally, you'd read it and then we'd do the motion.
Yeah.
Last time we did it backwards, too.
Yeah.
I do have a comment if I could
Go
continue.
ahead, sure.
If for the third reading, perhaps we could instruct the office not to bother to print everything. Is that what you're, it's kind of a waste. You really just need a copy of the bylaw that you need to read. So maybe we could just make sure it seems a waste of a couple trees, perhaps. We've seen the documentation, and all we need is the bylaw. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
So a quick perusal of the bylaw. A new definition, section 300.451, livestock on less than 5 acres. The keeping of animals on less than 5 acres, whether for gainful purpose or not, includes chickens, turkeys, ducks, cows, goats, sheep, alpaca, llamas, donkeys, burros, and mules, wild rabbits, and emu, and excludes roosters, pigs, geese, bulls, and oxen. This definition does not include pets such as interior caged birds, cats, dogs, pot-bellied pigs, domesticated rabbits, gerbils, hamsters, caged mice, and guinea pigs. Livestock on less than 5 acres standards. A, the resident must have a permit from the Board of Health. B, the animals must be kept at least 25 feet from adjacent lots. C, the animals must have appropriate housing and protection for every season. D, no roosters, geese, pigs, bulls, or oxen are permitted. E, animals must be kept within a fenced area on non-street facing sides of the subject lot. F, a noise plan must be provided. G, a waste plan must be provided. H, a feed storage plan must be provided. I, the number of animals allowed will be determined through the special permit process. A new section, 502.68, in the Table of Use Regulations, as proposed. Livestock on less than 5 acres, the keeping of animals on less than 5 acres, whether for gainful purposes or not, must comply with standards. See definition with standards. And hopefully I can see if I can recall all these abbreviations this time around. Single family would require a special permit. A two-family would not be allowed to have these. Multifamily would not. Retail business would not. General business would have a special permit. Light industrial would have a special permit. Heavy industrial would have a special permit. the BOD is the one I always forget. Business Opportunity District would have a special permit, and the Central Core, it would not be allowed. On January 15th, 2014, a motion was made and seconded and voted unanimous. This is not actually part of the bylaw, but just as a note, and voted unanimous in favor to recommend approval of these proposed amendments. Any other questions, comments, concerns, whether from here or there? Councilor Steves.
Just again, as with the last meeting, I am going to abstain based on recommendations of town attorney. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilor Peliquin?
Yes.
Councilor Steves, abstain. Councilor Vanda?
Yes.
Councilor Vecchia?
Yes.
Councilor Crosco?
Yes.
Councilor Clements?
Yes.
Councilor Manna?
Yes.
Councilor Moriarty?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstain.
Motion carries. Agenda item number 13, Councilors Forum, and we will start with Councilor Vandal.
I'm all set this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vecchia.
Thank you very much. To begin with, on the school department capital allocation that I just voted yes, the only reason why I voted yes, it was already previously agreed to by the former council, or I wouldn't have voted for it, because as I've been saying all along, I want to cut the budget. The second thing, I got a call from Lovely Street to the town manager through the, and I have the number here for you, 508-7764-1507. The person states that they had a brand new washing machine, and because of what happened with the water company, the sediment clogged up the line, and it's going to cost some money, and they're wondering if you could help them out.
They can submit a claim, they have to do that in writing, and we will forward it to the town's insurance company for their adjustment.
Okay,
The town doesn't self-adjust claims, we forward them to the company.
I'll call them back myself.
Great.
The third, thank you very much. The third thing is, the town manager made a point that about $5,000 a year is allocated for sidewalk projects. So if we take care of Belanger's sidewalk, who are we going to leave out? Because they weren't in the group that we were going to take care of to begin with.
There really wasn't any specific repair plan this year for that small amount of sidewalk money. To be honest with you, we've got miles of sidewalk.
I understand that.
A $5,000 allocation is really only put in there for the purpose of taking care of small emergency situations. So this would be one of those situations.
I have had a lot of people call me up over the years telling me that their sidewalk still hasn't been fixed, and it's been 3, 4, 5 years. So I'm looking out for those people too. Okay? Thank you very much.
All set?
Yes.
Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things, actually. One is that I would like to mention that the Historical Society is starting off their fall programs. The September program is September 10th at 7. It's going to be featuring meteorologist Art Horn, who's taking us on a tour of the weather from the birth of the planet to today. That ought to be a really fast thing, since it's 5 billion years. It's kind of tough to talk in an hour. We can learn how the weather has affected humans through history. Again, that's at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Weather through the ages. Also, I wanted to mention that I was at the West Street School playground unveiling a week ago now, and I thought that was a great thing. It was nice to see the kids there and everybody showing up, especially to honor Mike Vesha. Although I got to admit, it would have been kind of cool to see them before they filed into the schools, to have all of the kids take a chance to go down that slide. That would have been fun to see. Anyway, I thought that was a good thing to see that happen. I think we can do more of that kind of stuff around town, just if we can put our minds to it. Thirdly, I got a couple of phone calls actually, relating to dogs. And I just wanted to see if people who own them could be a little more careful about restraining them, about fencing their properties, about making sure they aren't wandering around on other people's properties. I just thought I'd mention that. Also, remember, tomorrow is primary day. Even if you may not, as long as you're unenrolled, Democrat or Republican, you can take a ballot. And remember, if you're unenrolled, that means you can take either ballot. There are some important races going on, some of which will be essentially decided tomorrow. So please make sure you get out and vote. Do a little quick homework this evening. You can check their various websites online to get some idea of who you want to vote for if you haven't already decided. It is important, and it's really kind of sad that I remember talking to the town clerk a couple of days ago, and she mentioned that she was expecting the turnout to be only about 5%. But this is important. This is how democracy works, and until we figure out a better way to run the system, which there probably is, let's make this work. We need more people out there participating in these primaries. Anyway, also, I had somebody else raise an issue, and I guess this is through you to the town manager. Do you think it'd be possible to do some of the public hearings that you do in the mornings in front of the council instead, so people can see them on cable?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Somebody asked me about a public hearing, one of the public hearings you did. It was actually a poll hearing from a couple days ago. And although that's kind of a minor issue, but it made me think of something, is that there's a lot of these little public hearings that occur in the mornings. And I know some people have expressed interest in maybe seeing what some of them are. But at that time of day, a lot of people can't attend them. Is there any way that maybe, and I realize that it might extend our agendas a little bit, but I think it would make more sense from a public information point of view if some of them were conducted actually by the council, in front of the council, or maybe say at 6:30 instead of at 10 or 11?
The council cannot conduct them. The council is not the licensing authority.
Yeah, I get that.
However, if you're asking the question, Gus, could we do some of them at night? Certainly. I don't see any problem. I'm here pretty much every night anyway, so that's not a problem. I think what we're trying to do is maintain a balance between the legitimate interests of the petitioners to have their access during daytime hours. They often bring a paid advocate, an attorney, some are local business people, and the public rights to participate. So I'm not sure what the balance is, but if the council has any thoughts on that, I'd be more than happy to accommodate them. It's not a problem from my point of view. It's been the tradition to do them in the daytime. I can move them to the evening just as easily. So kind of if the council has any guidance, I would appreciate hearing it. I don't want to say, well, we'll do poll petitions at night and common victuals in the daytime. There's too many to do them all.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure it out, because I know that when I was a reporter, some of the towns that I covered, they were all done by the selectmen at some time in their regular meeting.
Yeah, it depends on who the licensing authority is in the community,
right.
But where it's the elected body, in some cases, they do them at night as part of the meeting.
Right.
If it's not, then they're pretty much done during the daytime. For instance, the local liquor licensing board does them pretty much during the daytime. So again, I'm open to the council's suggestion, whatever you'd like. I'm just not quite sure which ones to do at night and which to do during the daytime, but any suggestions?
I don't know either. I just know somebody had raised the issue.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate concern that people want to be able to attend some of these. I'm sorry, I don't have a simple answer, but believe me, I'm very flexible. If there's a consensus, I'm happy to do it. I also can't really know which ones will draw our interest and which ones won't. Well, here's an idea. If somebody wanted to participate in a hearing, couldn't make a daytime meeting, if they wanted to submit a letter to be read into the record, I can certainly continue the hearing to another night when they can be present in order to let them testify. And I'm happy to accommodate people by doing that. So that's at least one option maybe that might help.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pelican?
I just wanted to remind people to vote in the state primary tomorrow, but since Councilor Steve's already covered it, I have nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Hanna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Well, I will make up for Councilor Pelican, because I have a few things. One of them being, on my way home from work tonight, coming into Southbridge from Sturbridge on 131, I noticed a yard sale sign duct taped in bright pink duct tape to the Welcome to Southbridge sign. Do not put yard sale signs on town property. It doesn't belong on town property. So that's one of my, especially bright pink. And your yard sale sign that's up there, it does have your address on it, so, I guess you could maybe send a letter or something. Also, I wanted to let people in the South Street area know that there is a traffic commission meeting tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 at the police station in the community room. I did get a phone call from a concerned citizen in regards to the heavy truck traffic and some speeding issues, so that is going to be taken up on this agenda. If you have concerns, please come, 4:30 p.m. in the community room. I also would like to remind people about the importance to vote tomorrow. Some people say it's only a primary, some people say it's only local elections, some people say my voice doesn't matter, but it does. I did put together a little bit of history, and I hope I get this correct. We have a history teacher up here, so I'm just going to read this real quick. It should only take a few minutes. Before we were independent from Britain, those who voted within our colonies were the property owners, the elite, if you will. This changed with time, with one of the major changes taking place after the Revolutionary War, and that was when men had the right to vote, even if they did not own property. However, this was only those men who were free. After dissolving the Articles of Confederation and with a new U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, America seemed well on track, or so it seemed. There were 10 original amendments to our Constitution, all very important to our new, very young nation. If you look at Article 5 of our nation's Constitution, this will tell you how the amendments are made to our Constitution. To date, there have been 27 amendments made to our Constitution, with the first 10 being the original. 4 of these 27 amendments are on voting rights. On December 15, 1791, our Constitution and its original Bill of Rights became law. Some amendments took place soon after this. However, it took 79 years for our 15th Amendment, which was ratified on February 3, 1870, 5 years after the Civil War ended. Our 15th Amendment guaranteed the right to vote no matter your race, color, or servitude. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. But nowhere in the 15th Amendment did it tell of women having the right to vote. It was not for another 50 years before women's suffrage ended, and on August 18, 1920, our 19th Amendment was ratified and women were now allowed to vote. And August 26 is actually 1920 is actually when that vote became law, that ratification became law. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Still, there were flaws with voting, as some states applied what is called a poll tax, which meant that you had to pay a fee in order to vote in a national election. This brings us to our 24th Amendment, some 44 years after our 19th Amendment and 90 years after our 15th Amendment. On January 23, 1964, our 24th Amendment was ratified. The rights of citizens of the United States to vote in any primary on other election for president or vice president, for electors for president or vice president, or for senator or for representative in Congress shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state by reason or of failure to pay any poll tax or other tax. But still something is wrong. We have our children fighting in wars at 18 years old, and our country can draft our sons at this young age, but yet the voting age is 21 years old. This brings us to our 26th Amendment. Some 7 years after the 24th Amendment, 51 years after our 19th Amendment, and 101 years after our 15th Amendment, 180 years after the ratification of our Constitution. The rights of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state or on account of age. Our country by no means was perfect in the beginning. We still are not. However, many people died for our right to vote. Many people put themselves out there and fought for our rights as women to vote. People spoke out against having to pay a fee to vote in our country. Many protests had been done to lower the age of voting. But yet I see such a low voter turnout when it comes to local elections and state elections and state primaries, along with the state elections. These races count. Your vote especially counts when it comes to local and state. Your vote does matter. Please don't give the appearance that what was done in the past to secure our rights of today to have been done in vain. These 4 amendments are the most ever done to our Constitution on one single subject. Vote, it's your right. Hope to see you tomorrow. That's it. I hope I got it right, Mr. Teacher.
The only part missing is next Wednesday's Constitution Day.
Oh, thank you.
Councilor Clements.
Sorry. I take that back. Strike the minutes, please. No, that was very informative. Thank you, Councilman. Couple of things. First up, Mr. Cowett, I know you wanted to talk on that item, and I'm sure our esteemed chairman here would mention it, but just make sure in the future, because that's when you're supposed to talk on an item, if he says any other discussion, you jump up and say, me before we vote. That's the only, just do it. Just make sure you get it in before he goes to the vote, and you'll be all set. That goes for anybody else. When we changed that and made sure that all agenda items, issues pertaining to an agenda item come up at the agenda item, not at citizens forum. So thanks for understanding tonight. I just want to remind people that there is a landfill open house on Saturday. That's always an issue here in this community, so I would encourage those of you who have questions, concerns, or just curious in some way to go to the open house. It is from 10 to 1, I believe, on Saturday. I know it starts at 10, ends at 1 or 2. Refreshments, displays, lots of things going on there, and let them answer your questions, get the information directly from the operators. So I encourage you to do that. And while you're there, of course, as you know, tonight we talked a lot about the Cops and Kids, so head on over to the car show and hang out there for a wonderful afternoon. Again, those doors open at 11 and bring you right through. I think 7 o'clock is closing, so once again, we mentioned that. And I would also say a lunch at the Senior Center today. That was wonderful again to see the wonderful group of seniors that meets once a month. I would again encourage any seniors who are interested in participating with this group to get in touch with Mike Trombley at the Senior Center and get more information. For just a couple of dollars, you can get a wonderful meal. Usually it's the first Monday of the month. Occasionally they change that depending on if there's anything or a holiday coming up. But they're a wonderful group of citizens. And then there's the Spanish group that also meets. Anybody can go to any senior meeting. You don't have to be Hispanic to go to Las Americas on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you certainly don't have to be English speaking to go to the senior groups meetings that they have, the other portion of the seniors, along with their exercise classes that they hold 3 times a week. So I encourage you seniors to get up and take part in the community activities that we've got for you at our wonderful senior center on Chestnut Street. And again, for any other information, you could contact Mike Trombley at the Senior Center. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
Yes, I just have 2 things this evening. I also was at the playground dedication, and sometimes, we give a lot of credit to different people, and I just publicly tonight want to give thanks to the donors, really, that made that all possible. From High Dexter Russell Foundation, United Lens, the Southbridge PTA, Southbridge Savings Bank, Southbridge Credit Union, Savers Bank, Drake Petroleum, Lions Club, and the Rotary Club. These were all sponsors that really made this come to light, and also K&C Lawn Care. So I just want to say publicly tonight, thank you. It was a great event. And I was very humbled and honored to be able to represent the town and the council at that event. The second thing is just to remind the council, there was an email sent out to us. We have a council of a whole meeting that has been scheduled for the 18th, September 18th, and that will take place at 6 p.m. And the sole agenda item is to discuss the FY15 goals and objectives that have been sent to us and have been included in our packets. So please mark your calendars. Again, it's a change of time, so it will start at 6 p.m. The Council of the Whole meeting here September 18th. And again, hope to see you guys all at the Dunk Tank. I'm there at 11:30.
Just quickly, I won't, as a general rule, I don't tend to comment in Council's forum as chair now, but I did want to address, similar to what Councilor Clements has already addressed in terms of citizen input. By all means, if you had given any indication, raised your hand or such, I apologize if I didn't see it. I do make a point of trying to look around the room, not just here, but out there, for any sort of indication or sign. Beyond that, the only other thing I really wanted to point out is just that a week from today, next Monday, for those who are interested, and certainly those who have been involved or want to know more about it, the Relay for Life of Greater Southbridge area, which benefits the American Cancer Society, is holding their wrap-up event at the Knights of Columbus at 6:30 p.m. They have raised. The actual number will be announced next week, so I'll withhold that at the moment. But at close of Relay in June, Father's Day weekend, it was about $204,000. It has gone up since then. So I just wanted to point that out. By all means, that's open to anyone and everyone who wants to attend. In my opinion, one of the really great events we have in town, and typically we are one of the top 10 to 20 relays for all of New England in terms of per capita, which for a town that does struggle in a number of ways, but also excels in a number of other ways, I think is pretty impressive, and shows what kind of spirit people have here. And just lastly, as a quick aside, this weekend I ventured out to Worcester, where they were holding the Worcester Revolution of 1774. I won't give you the whole history of that, but
you could.
I could, and I actually learned a good deal this weekend as well. But I just wanted to say I thought that was a great event and something that a lot of people from a lot of different communities took part in. The only downside of the event was because Southbridge was not incorporated in 1816, and they had people that were in attendance kind of where you're from, I was forced to identify as Sturbridge, which I still haven't quite showered that filth off me. So I'll leave it at that. Agenda item number 14, discussion of next meeting date.
Monday, September 22nd, 2014, at 7 p.m. here in council chambers.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you to the council for that reminder to all of us about our responsibility to vote. When I was in Afghanistan in 2007, 2008, it was a presidential election that year. And I remember very vividly coming home and feeling very, very happy that I was able to vote in the kind of conditions where I actually got to exercise the freedom of my choice and not feel intimidated. It's a privilege that we take for granted far too much. And I'm very appreciative and very proud of the fact that the council reminded people. And thank you for the history lesson. That was great.
You're welcome. I can do it again if you like.
No. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, people.